Today's daf is daf Samach Vav. We are going to begin at the bottom of Samach Hey Amud Beis by the brand new Mishnah. So the Mishnah, but at first the Chacham would say, Hayotze b'koiler. If a person is going out to be executed, he's being taken out by chains. V'amar, and he says, Kisfu get ishti, write a get for my wife. So the halach is, these people should write the get and give it to his wife, even though they were not explicitly instructed to give the get. All he said is kisfu get liishti. So we say that he meant that they should write it and give the get. Afterwards, the Chacham said, even with regards to somebody who sets sail and somebody who departs in a caravan, he goes to a faraway place and he says, write a get for my wife. So the kavanah means is to write the get and give it to his wife. Rav Shimon Shazari says, even if somebody is very, very dangerously ill, and he gives these instructions, the halacha is that we say, Yichtavu v'yitnu. So the Gemara, Geneva was one who went out in neck chains to be executed. When he was going out, Omri said, give 400 dinner to Rabavina mechanu de Nahar Panya from wine that I have in the city of Nahar Panya. Amar Rav Zeda, so Rav Zeda says, it's not a good get. Adimotis l'masa mechasya, until he reaches masa mechasya. Sorry, let's go back over here. Let's start again. Geneva was once going out to be executed. When he was going out, Omar, he said, go and give 400 dinar to Rabavino Mechamad and Nahar Panya from the wine that I have in the city of Nahar Panya. Rav Zeda said, Dra Rabavina Lesilta, let Rabavina lift his basket and go to Ravina, his teacher, as in order to acquire them, he must rely on the opinion of his teacher. He said, that the get is like a gift. So he said that it's just like a get, and just like regards to a gift given by a person who's on his deathbed, if he recovered from his illness and arose from his deathbed, and he now revokes his gift, so too, with regards to the get, if he recovered from his illness and arose from his deathbed, he is chayzer. Omagi to afal gav the light pidish, and even though, and with regards to that get, even though he did not specify once he said, even though kisfu, once he says kisfu, afal gav the light, even though he didn't say to know av matanosi, so to my matana kiv the matano, even though he didn't say give, that afal gav the light kanomine. So in regards to that gift, even though the guy did not acquire the item from him by means of a kinyan, the one on his deathbed has given him a gift. Based on this, we draw a parallel between Rav Huna by get and a gift, and Ravina can go now and collect the gift given by Geneva. So just as a gift is valid after death, so too a get is also valid after death. So where it says, you compare the case, by a gift is valid after death. Is there get after divorce? A get, as we know, it severs the bond between a husband and a wife. After the husband dies, the get is pointless. Therefore, the parallel certainly does not extend to after death. Rabbi says, this was Geneva's instructions to the. This was the difficulty according to Rabbi Abba. He said, Geneva's instruction is a gift of a person on his deathbed. He's giving a portion of his estate. And the gift of a person on his deathbed of a miktas of a portion requires an act of kinyan. The Gemara says, so you can learn from here that Rav Huna, according to whose opinion Rabbi Avina acquire the gift holds that the gift of a person on his deathbed does not require a kinyan. So the Gemara asks, "Well, well, we establish that a kinyan is needed after the one It's different here, as this is not a standard case of a gift. It's a case where one issues an instruction to give the gift due to his death immediately. In that case, we say it's a mitzvah to, as we know, it's a mitzvah to fulfill the statement of the dead person, and applies even if a gift by mixes of the property. We should learn from here that Abba holds that one who issues the instructions to give the gift on his deathbed requires an act of kinyan. But we just established, we know that Allah is that you don't need a kinyan. So Allah what Abba says, this was the Shaila. Chamra, he said like this. The Geriva did not say to give 400 dinners of wine to the Mavina. Geriva did not say to give 400 dinners of wine, and he did not say the monetary value of 400 dinners of wine. What did he say? He said 400 dinners from wine. So the question is, what did Geriva want to convey with his expression? So B'Yidach, and it says the B'Yidach, and the other Amir of Zeru, who does not find this difficult, holds that what Geriva was saying is he was saying from wine in order to enhance his ability to collect his gift. Geriva sought to give him a gift of value in order to guarantee that Rabbi Avinu would have access to his property and that the Yorsha would not be able to prevent him from receiving the gift with various claims he specifically designated for the property, from which property Ravina could collect the gift. The Gemara says, Shlochum B'tam, he sent a message from there to Yisrael that the term Meichamer Kedeliapas is given from one in order to enhance Rabbi Avina's ability to collect the gift. New Mishnah Misha Yamushlach, if a person was thrown into a pit and thought he would die there, he said, whoever hears my, and he said, whoever hears my voice should write a get for my wife, and he specified his name, her name, and all the details. So the halacha is, those who listen, those who hear, should write this get and give it to his wife, even though they did not see the man, they don't know who it is. Why don't we be concerned that perhaps this was a shed, there was a demon, and not a person? Referred to a case where they saw the being, that being in the pit was a human form. So where it says, Inunami idmo idwo. Shadim too can appear in human form, and therefore the fact that the being looked human is not a proof that it wasn't a shade. So where it says the chozule b'voyei, where they saw that he has a shadow. So where it says Inunami yislu b'voyei, Shadim also have a shadow. So where answers famous thing, this always quotes the chozule b'voyei b'voyei. Which is the next thing, but it says that they saw the shadow of a shadow. So the Gemara says, maybe Shadim also have a shadow. Amar Chanina, man dani Yenisam b'ni. He says, Rabbi Yenisam, my son, taught me that Bebeya Islahu, that Shadim have a shadow. However, Bebeya the Bebeyu less lahu. They do not have the shadow of a shadow. The Gemara says, V'dil Matzari, but perhaps the source of the voice is in the pit. It was a rival wife of the woman who was to be divorced. In other words, she seeks to cause her rival to receive the get under false pretense, leading her to believe that she is divorced. Based on that mistaken belief, she will remarry without a divorce and then be forbidden to both her first and second husband. That was Rabbi Shmuel b'shas sakana, talking about during the time of danger where there is likelihood that the wife would assume deserted status. In case when one writes the get, even though the people instructed do not do so are not familiar with the man who gave the instructions. Here too, when a voice is heard from a pit, one writes and gives the get, as there's no possibility of properly clarifying the issue. Like the Mishnah, a healthy person has said, Kisu get li ishti, write a get for my wife, but do not say give it to her. We say, he just wants to mock her. Since he told them to write the get and do not give it, it's not a good get. So the Mishnah says, Kisu get li ishti. There was once a story involving a healthy man who said, right, to get the divorce to my wife. And then he ascended to the roof and fell, and he died. So Rav Shimon Gamliel says if he fell on his own initiative, in other words, he committed suicide, so it's a good get. It's clear that he anticipated his death and instructed those listening to write the get with the intent of giving to her. But if he was pushed by the wind, it's not a good get, as there was no clear intent to give her the get. So the Gemara says, this story is contradicting the halacha. The halacha is that in a case where a healthy man said, write a get, the get is not a valid. And from this ma'aseh, it's clear that under certain circumstances, when a healthy man said, write a get, the get is valid. So the Gemara says, no. It's incomplete. This is what the teaching meant to say. In the case of a healthy man who said to write a get for my wife, but did not say to give it to her, we say that he's mocking her. However, if his ultimate action proves his initial intent that he seeks to give the divorce because he's about to die, then how does it get? It is a get. There's also an incident involving a healthy person who said kisvu get liishti enough of him. As he said, a healthy man said, write a get for my wife, and then he went up and he fell off the roof and died. How does it get? If he fell on his own initiative, it's a get. However, and a get. There was a certain man who entered the shul. He found a school teacher and his son who were sitting there, and another person also sat there. So he said to them, two of you should write a get of divorce for my wife. So what happened was ultimately the teacher died, and so the question is, do people designate a son as a shliach in the presence of his father? In other words, even though the two of them could not serve together as witnesses because they're relatives, the person's kavanah was to designate two people who could serve as Aiden, the teacher and the other person. And the question is whether the son of the teacher and the other person are shluchim and eligible to write this get of divorce. So Rav Nachman he says, Rav Nachman says people do not designate a son as a shliach in the presence of his father. Papa says people designate a son as a shliach in the presence of his father. People designate a son as a shliach in the presence of his father. Zog the Mishnah, if a man said to two people, Tanu get liishti, give a divorce for my wife. Or if a man said to three people, Kisu get utnu liishti, write a get and divorce and give it to my wife. So these people should write the get themselves and give it to her. In the case of to three people, if he said to three people, give a get to my wife, these people should tell others, and those others will write the get, because why? He designated the three people as a beis din. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. And this is the halacha of Rabbi Chanina Ishaina brought up from prison, and the name of Rabbi Akiva, who was in prison there. That I have a tradition from my teacher that in the case where a man says to three people, give a get to my wife, that these three people should tell others, and those others will write a document, because he designated the three people as a beis din. Amar Rabbi Yasi said, Numeinu la shliach, we said to the shliach, Afan mukubalam, we too received the tradition that even if a person said to the beis din hagadol in Yerushalayim, give a get to my wife, that the members of the beis din should learn to write and should write the documents themselves and give it to his wife. Amar la Sarah, if a man said to 10 people, Kisvu tnu get liishti, write a get for my wife and give it to her. Echad Kesef, one writes, Shnayim Chaisman, and two sign. If he said all of you write the get, Echad Kesef, one writes, Kulam Chaisman, all sign. The figure of Echad man. Therefore, if one of them died, it is a nullified get, as he directed all of them to participate in this process. Said, after Rav passed away, they sent a question from the Beis Medrash of Rav to Shmuel. They said, let our teacher teach us. In a case where a man said to two people, write and give a get to my wife, and they told the sefer and he wrote the get, and they signed it. So the Shaila is, what's the halacha? Shlach lahu teitzadei b'adav tzarach l'Talmud. He sent a response. If the woman remarried on the basis of this divorce, he should leave her second husband, and this requires great study. In other words, it's necessary to clarify the halacha, as there's a fundamental suffix with regard to this matter. What does it mean the matter requires study? So if we say that the suffix arises due to the fact that these are only directives verbally, as the husband just gave them instructions that did not hand them anything tangible, and Shmuel is uncertain whether just verbal directives, instructions given to one shliach are transferred to another shliach, or whether verbal directives are not transferred to another shliach. So at least leads to the question of whether the shliach designated by the husband to write the get of divorce can designate the sefer or not. So that cannot be the question. So that cannot be the question. Why? Because the halacha is that verbal directives cannot be delegated as a shliach. A shliach cannot be given instructions on behalf of another. Shmuel was not uncertain about this question. The question was, when the man told two people, write the get, the question is whether he was referring to the signatures, in which case they could designate the sefer to write the document, or whether he was referring to writing the text of the get, in which case it would be upon them alone to write and sign the document. So where I asked, but let Shmuel answer this from a Mishnah. From our Mishnah, if a man said to two people, give this get to my wife, or if a man said to three people, write this get to my wife, so we see that a person that they must write the divorce themselves. So where answers and says, no, the Mishnah itself is the question that Shmuel is raising. When the man told two people, Sabai, write the get, was he referring to their signatures, or was he referring to the writing of the get? The cost of the host, and where it says it's obvious that it's referring to the writing of the get. The Tani Sefer Rabbi S in the morning Shliach. He says that it was taught later. Rabbi S said that said to the Shliach that after the Mekabalim shafil Amar LeBeis Nagel Shushalayim to get least Sheyim the Vichtu will wait. We said that even if he tells Beis Nagadol, give a get to my wife, that the Beis Din should learn to write themselves and should write the documents themselves and give it to his wife. Now, get to shamper. If you mean to say that it means the writing of the get, so it works well. But if you're saying it means is there a Beis Din whose members do not know how to sign their signatures? Where it says in there's new Bati Din whose members have not learned to sign a unique signature that will be recognizable to the public. So where it says on the high ksabo, but if he holds that this instruction is right a get, it means their signatures ksabo, who is the writing if he holds that the instructions write a get, this reference to the signatures, is the writing of the get valid or not? Ramar Shmuel, but Ramar Shmuel, Amar Rabbi Halacha Rabbi S Amar Milim. Didn't we say that? Yes.
In the bathroom.
Didn't we say that Milim Memson the Shliach?
No. In the name, then we see the day, then we see the day, then we sing the again. Today is the day. Is everything the day?
So Amri, they said Israel and the Ksuv Ksav get that's a Imru Imru. So they said the Chacham responds that if we hold that write the get is a reference to their signatures, the writing of a get comes as one who says those agents tell another to write it, and it basically sees that the case of one who says tell another to write it, and the shluchim can designate another to write the document. So the wire says, Umi made Rabbi S Imru. Does Rabbi S agree in the case of one who says tell another to write a get? But Vatanan Ksav Sefer Ve'ed Kosher, Rami Chasav Sefer Shanino. But didn't we learn in the Mishnah that if a person has a get on the writing of a sefer, and the sefer identifies his handwriting, and one witness verifies his signature, it's good, as though two witnesses testify to validate the signatures. And Rabbi Yirmiyah said we learned in the Mishnah that this halacha with regards to the sefer signatures and not the sefer's writing. Rav Chisda says, "Masti Samani, who's our Mishnah like Rabbi S Amar Milu Emam Shliach." And if you see that thing that Rabbi S concedes in the case of one who says tell another to write, then nothing many churba, a pitfall will result from the Zim Dharma L'Shnayim. Sometimes it happens that one said to two people, Imru the Sefer V'yichtu L'Pleni, tell the Sefer to write the documents, tell so-and-so and so-and-so that they will sign it. Mishum Kisuva the Sefer, and due to the shame of the Sefer who asks, don't you consider me a person who's upright to sign the documents as witnesses? The Shluchim are concerned that to avoid the disgrace and have one of those witnesses and the Sefer signed together with him, the Sefer Madad, and the husband did not say to do so. The get is not a good get because it was signed contrary to the husband's instructions, and the shtel will mistakenly think that it is valid. So more answers, Kivin Mar, since Mar said kosher tasa can be so. Since Mar said, as we're going to learn later, that such a divorce is valid, however, it should not be done as the husband himself should appoint the sefer and the witnesses. Lo yishlich, it's an uncommon case of the husband to appoint the shliach to arrange the get, and the chacham do not issue a gzera in cases which are uncommon. So, Freddy, what of Alechas Dilma Amr Lahu Lebeit today? Imbala Sefer B'yichtu. Let us be concerned lest the husband say to two people, tell the sefer, and he will write the documents and sign it. And Va'atam Chasumu, and you sign it. V'azlu Hanam Mishum Ksufet the sefer. And these two, due to the shame of the sefer, go and have the sefer sign the documents. And they're going to go and have the sefer sign the documents together with one of them, and the husband did not say to do so. Amri, so the Chacham say, Hanami kosher also. This it's kosher, however, should not be done. This too is shchiach, and there's no concern that makes something not shchiach. So the Gemara says, Hanich lamanda kosher also. Lamanda kosher also Michael Meimer. Ela Ravesi Tati Amar Shvol. So they cover say b'chadi upogol polig ale b'chada. Rabbi S says that really it's Shmuel holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi S in one case, and disagrees in the other case.